Before this story begins, let me ask you something. What if there was a place where people were taken, questioned, broken down, and then released as if nothing ever happened? No arrest record, no court date, no paperwork, no proof they were ever there. And what if that place sat quietly inside a major city, unguarded by signs, unnamed on maps, while officials swore under oath that it didn't exist? Stay with me until the end, because this story isn't just about a prison. It's about what happens when power operates in the shadows, and how close those shadows might be to where you live. If stories like this matter to you, if you believe the truth should never disappear quietly, make sure to stay till the final moments of this documentary. It starts on a cold afternoon, the kind where the air feels metallic and the sky hangs low over the city of Chicago. On the west side, tucked between abandoned warehouses and cracked pavement, stands a squat, nondescript building. No barbed wire, no watchtowers, no sign announcing its purpose. To anyone driving past, it looks like a forgotten municipal structure, another relic of a city that has seen better decades. But for years, people went inside that building and came out changed. Some never talked about it. Others tried and weren't believed. Officially, the building was called Homan Square, an off-the-books police facility used for logistics and administrative work. That was the explanation. Simple, clean, boring. But inside, time worked differently. Men would later describe being handcuffed to benches for hours, sometimes for an entire day. No lawyer, no phone call, no explanation. The lights never dimmed enough to suggest night. The walls didn't offer clocks. There was no way to know how long you'd been there. One man said the first thing that disappeared wasn't his freedom, it was time itself. He remembered being picked up during a routine stop. No warrant, no charge read aloud. Just a ride in the back of an unmarked vehicle, windows darkened, turning through streets he couldn't recognize. When the car stopped, he was led inside. The doors closed behind him with a heavy sound that echoed longer than it should have. Inside, the air smelled of disinfectant and old concrete. The benches were bolted to the floor. The cuffs were tight enough to cut circulation. When he asked for a lawyer, no one answered. When he asked what he was being charged with, the room stayed silent. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. He couldn't tell. This wasn't jail. Jails have intake logs. Jails have phone calls. Jails have names. This place had none. For decades, rumors like this floated through certain neighborhoods. Passed quietly, almost cautiously. People talked about a ghost station, a place where you could be taken and erased for a while. But rumors are easy to dismiss, especially when the people telling them don't carry institutional credibility. And the city denied everything. Then, in 2015, the story broke open. A journalist started pulling threads. Arrest records that didn't line up. Names that disappeared from official logs. Lawyers who couldn't locate clients for days, only to have them reappear later without explanation. Freedom of information requests came back incomplete. Redacted. Something wasn't adding up. The deeper the investigation went, the stranger it became. According to official statements, Homan Square was not a detention center. People were not held there. No interrogations happened. No prisoners existed. But internal documents told a different story. Between 2004 and 2015, thousands of people passed through Homan Square. Many of them were never formally arrested. Many were never booked. Some were released without charges, with no record that they'd ever been inside. Legally, it was a gray zone. Psychologically, it was something else entirely. Former detainees described the same pattern: isolation, disorientation, pressure, questioning without counsel. In some cases, allegations of physical abuse. One man said officers placed a bag over his head. Another claimed he was denied medication while handcuffed for hours. There were no windows in the interrogation rooms, no mirrors to ground yourself, no reference point for reality, just questions, silence, and the slow understanding that no one outside knew where you were. And that realization that you could disappear inside your own city did something profound to the human mind. The building itself seemed designed for ambiguity, secure enough to control movement, plain enough to avoid attention, located far from tourist areas, far from scrutiny, close to highways, close to neighborhoods already accustomed to heavy policing. This wasn't an accident. Lawyers who later tried to challenge detentions ran into a wall. Without booking records, it was nearly impossible to prove unlawful custody. Habeas petitions went nowhere. Courts demanded documentation that didn't exist. It was a prison without paper. And that may have been the point. Chicago police officials insisted Homan Square was used for processing sensitive cases, narcotics, organized crime, and officer safety. They claimed everything that happened there was legal, necessary, controlled. But legality depends on visibility, on oversight, on traceability, and Homan Square had none. What made the story even more disturbing was how familiar it felt. For years, the United States had condemned secret detention facilities overseas, black sites, extraordinary renditions, off-the-books interrogations, practices associated with distant wars and foreign intelligence agencies. Now here it was, at home, no desert compounds, no foreign accents, just a concrete building in Chicago. As public attention grew, officials shifted their language. They acknowledged that people were brought there, questioned there, held there briefly, but they insisted it was no different from any other police facility. Except it was. Unlike traditional precincts, Homan Square did not allow detainees access to attorneys. Unlike jails, it did not process inmates through a formal system. Unlike interrogation rooms you see in movies, there was no clear boundary between questioning and detention. You were simply, and when you left, you were expected to move on. For some, that wasn't possible. The psychological aftershocks lingered. People spoke about anxiety, paranoia, a lingering sense of unreality, about looking at official buildings differently, about questioning whether rules mattered when exceptions were so easily made. Community activists demanded the closure of the site. Civil rights groups called it unconstitutional. Comparisons to Guantanamo Bay began circulating, not because of scale, but because of principle. Eventually, under mounting pressure, Homan Square was shut down. Quietly, no dramatic announcement, no apology, no admission of wrongdoing. The building simply stopped being used the way it once was. And just like that, the prison that officially never existed faded back into obscurity. But the questions didn't fade. How many people passed through without records? How many were pressured into confessions? How many were denied rights they never knew they had? And how many similar places exist, unmarked, unnamed, operating in legal shadows? Because systems don't build facilities like this by accident. They build them because they work. They work by removing friction, by bypassing oversight, by operating in places where accountability can't easily reach. Homan Square wasn't an anomaly. It was a test case, a demonstration of how easily the architecture of disappearance can exist in plain sight. Today, the building still stands, quiet, empty. Its windows reflect the city like nothing ever happened inside. But for the people who were taken there, it never really ended. Because once you learn that a place like this can exist, once you realize that entire systems can operate without acknowledgement, it changes how you see the world. It makes you look twice at ordinary buildings, in official statements, at the comforting assumption that if something were truly wrong, someone would stop it. The truth is harder than that. Sometimes the most powerful prisons don't need walls or names. They only need silence. And silence, for a long time, is exactly what Homan Square had. If the story made you uneasy, that's the point. History doesn't always announce itself with sirens. Sometimes it waits, hidden behind concrete walls, until someone decides to look closer. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. If you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered and questioned, then keep seeking them out. Because the moment we stop asking where power hides, is the moment it stops needing to hide at all.